Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be doing this old, outdated, mid-century modern dresser. I got it for $125 off of Facebook Marketplace, but it also came with the taller dresser, so it's about $75 each. But I'm going to start this makeover by taking off the hardware as usual. I feel like these middle circular knobs are a little bit too chunky for the dresser, and so I'm going to be trying to find something that will be just a little bit smaller and maybe fit the style that I'm going for more. Now, the longer bar hardware that you see is really pretty, and I wish I could keep this, but unfortunately there were two hardware pieces missing, so I'm not going to be able to make that work, and I'll have to change those out as well. Once all the hardware was off, I started taking out all the drawers. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I think it makes the prep work a lot easier and much faster as well. You can see I'm setting these two middle pieces aside because I have a little something different planned for them as opposed to the rest of the dresser. I'm wiping down this piece with Dawn dish soap, and I'm going to be making sure to go back and rinse it off afterwards with just regular water. This piece was pretty dirty, so I made sure to do this cleaning really thoroughly. As I said earlier, I'm not going to be able to keep this hardware with some of the hardware missing, so I am filling in the holes with my Drydex wood filler. I do really like this stuff. I've had this same can for quite a while, and I'm surprised that it hasn't dried out whatsoever, so I really do like that. With the other wood filler, I'm usually dried out after a couple projects, and it's really frustrating because there was a lot left. But anyways, now that that has been done, I am going in and giving this a light scuff sand with 120 grit. I'm just making sure to do this so that the paint and primer can adhere to the piece super well, and it was definitely in need of a little sand anyways. Anytime you sand, it's important to go back and clean all of that dust off later. That's exactly what I'm doing here. I don't want any of that to stick into the primer because that can yellow the primer, and I don't know, it's just not good to do. Now, like I said, I am doing a little something different with these two middle drawers, so I got them outside and I'm going to be sanding them down to raw wood, and then I will do a whitewash, and you'll see how it goes down and I'll explain it later in the video, but they ended up turning out really beautiful, so just keep on watching to see how it turned out. But yeah, I'm just sanding it down to raw wood. There was a really small piece of wood veneer, so I had to be really careful when I was sanding. After those two drawers were sanded down to raw wood, I wasted no time and got started into priming. I am using my Zinsser 123 primer. I love this stuff. I need to switch it up, I know that, but when you find something, it's really hard to switch it up, you know?
You were my best friend. Didn't care about the rules, good on the weekends. I'll be in fools, drifting to deep space. So brave and so stupid, just like the movies. how it's gonna stay in
After the primer was on, the wood filler was dry, so I was ready to sand back the rest of the wood filler, and I also gave the drawers a good scuff sand during that process as well. And then once all the wood filler was off of the drawer fronts, then I went on to priming the drawer fronts, and so the entire piece is caught up to where it's supposed to be.
time. Rumors, we were in too deep. In your worn-out sweaters, thinking we'll be young forever. Driving in your mom's old hatchback, and we were in too deep. Where did it begin? Where did it end? Hanging on loose strings, unable to bend. I never listened, trying to prove it, just like the movies. How it's gonna stay in the
Alright, so here's what I'm thinking for paint. I'm going to be using the Rust-Oleum brand here, and I think what I'm going to do is do 75% of this linen white and then also mix in some of this chiffon cream, because I do want a white, but I don't want it to be bright white like this is. So I'm going to do a 75% mix with a 25% of the chiffon cream, and I think it'll turn out really well.
thinking we'll be young forever. Driving in your mom's old hatchback, and we were in too deep.
I did really like how this mix turned out. It wasn't so bright, but it also wasn't as creamy as the chiffon cream, because I don't know, I just thought it was a little bit too creamy, that color, so this was a perfect mix. But I will say this Rust-Oleum brand is no longer one of my favorite brands. Now that I've been able to explore other paints, I just feel like this one is kind of a hassle and a little bit harder to work with than other paints. But I still enjoy the colors that they have, so I definitely will be using this again. But right now, I'm just trying to finish up the cans that I have and make way for new products. Now, for the two middle drawers that I sanded down to raw wood, I decided to do a whitewash. So I took the same color that I used on the dresser, and I added in about 80% water, so it was about 20% paint, 80% water. I wiped it on, and I quickly made sure to wipe it off. I just used a paper towel for this. I don't know if there is a better method, but this worked out just fine for me. So you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm painting a little strip and then wiping it off right away. I repeated this process on both of the drawers, and at this point I didn't know that there was going to be anything else done on these two drawers, but later you'll see that I actually ended up sanding this down as well, because it wasn't exactly the look that I was going for, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's really pretty white specks in the wood grain, but it's mostly raw wood still. After the whitewash was dry, this is what it was looking like. You can see it's still pretty, but it's not exactly what I was going for. Once the first coat was dry on the dresser, I had to give it a light scuff sand. This is one reason why this isn't my favorite paint, is because it does not dry very smoothly or levelly, if that's even a word. So I did have to go through and smooth it out a little bit. With other brands, I really don't have to do this, so I feel like it's such a hassle, but it definitely had to be done on this project. And of course, anytime that you are sanding, make sure you are going back and wiping it back with something, just so that it's not on there when you're ready to put on the next coat of paint. And that's exactly what's up next, so that's what we're about to do. Here's what the dresser was looking like after the second coat had dried. I was really falling in love with this dresser at this point. I think it's turned out great. And all that's left is to put on the top coat. So I am using my polyacrylic, and I'm just using the same brush. It'll mix in a little bit of paint, which is fine. You don't have to do that for the lighter colors, but I guess this is mostly out of laziness. So I did decide to keep the drawers in. I don't typically do this just because you run a higher risk of the poly dripping, especially with the new hardware holes that have been drilled. But I just made sure to be really careful and watch what I was doing. At this point, all that needs to be done is putting the hardware in, and I'm super excited for you guys to see this dresser, especially the middle drawers that I had done. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about them, but otherwise, let's get into the final reveal.